Melissa, my friend, welcome back to the Retail Whore Podcast.
Hello.
I am so glad we're doing this. You and I had lunch a couple weeks ago, and you were talking about a new program, how that you guys are starting to do, and I was like, we have to get this out to the retailers
Yeah.
because the brand that you are representing, you're with, is so big that there are very few little retailers that are able to be able to do this, and now you're kind of opening the door for it. So talk a little bit about
Yeah.
yourself and what you're doing, and then let's get into the details.
Yeah. My background's Z Gallerie. That's where you and I met all those many, many years ago. So I ended up in the art buying department and I was there for a number of years. And that's kind of how I came to be with Third and Wall. So I've been here now 16 years, which kind of blows my mind.
Wow, I didn't
I
realize.
know.
Holy shit,
16 years. Yeah,
that's
no, it's
amazing.
kind of nuts. And at the time, we were buying posters from Third and Wall when I was at Z Gallerie, and I loved their line and just the artists that they represented at the time. And so it was kind of a no brainer for me to make the switch. I'd been in retail, been on the buying end for, at that point, probably 7 years, 8 years. And it made sense for me to make this move. I love the line so much. So just kind of a little bit about Third and Wall. Yeah, like you said, so we're expanding the market a little bit. So as you know, like how retail's being a little challenged, right? Just as far as sales goals. And we're looking for different avenues on how to expand the reach for our artists because we represent approximately 50 active artists right now that are exclusive to Third and Wall. So we really just want to give them as much exposure as possible. And we've been finding that, like you had said, so we were working and still are working with wholesale framers that sell into big box. So they'll sell into Home Goods and Hobby Lobby and At Home and Kirkland's and the bigger guys. But our focus is shifting a little bit in that we've had some success with working with smaller retailers. And that doesn't mean that we are shying away from working with the great partners that we currently have that are still in our channels. Again, we're just trying to find different ways that we can expand our reach as a company, continue to grow, which in turn will help our artists, stay as active and providing imagery and stuff as possible. So we're working with a handful, say maybe like 8 small retailers. And when I say small, like they have one location, a couple of them have 2 locations. And we're finding a lot of success with that. So when you and I met for lunch, I know since you do the merchandising end of it, it was kind of like how can we get the word out that we're doing this, that we're offering these, this type of thing, in order to expand the success that we've had so far, basically.
You okay? So really quick, just so everyone can get an idea, when you were
Yeah.
at Z Gallery,
Hmm.
you were the art buyer. So Z used to offer unframed prints, and then you could go in and pick out what frame you wanted, what matting, all that. So when you transitioned into the buying, were they still selling the rolled posters, or were you buying posters from Third and Wall to you guys do the framing and then send them out to the store completely done?
Yeah. So we were purchasing the posters from Third and Wall, framing them up, and then sending them out to the store. When I was in the store, we were not doing unframed posters. You could order an unframed poster,
That's right.
but it wasn't actually being stocked in the store.
That's
So
right.
if you went into a store, and this is kind of like where this whole mindset came. So if you went into Z Gallerie and you saw a piece, but you hated the frame, or the frame just didn't match with your decor, right? So they would order it unframed, have to take it to a framer, have it framed so that it matched a little bit better. And I think that's kind of where we come into play now, because a lot of the partners that we have with the wholesale framers that have showrooms in the Dallas market, Vegas, Atlanta, High Point, they have a very curated line. So it's very concise to what their look is. It's very concise to the masses. And it doesn't offer a lot of customization. So where we kind of come in and fill the niche is we'll offer that customization. So if you have stores that you're working with, that let's say have specific color stories that they're, that they have, or even down to size. Like if they have a specific sizing that they need for their walls, for their displays, but X wholesale framer only offers it in a 30 by 40, but the biggest they can go is a 20 by 30. So that's kind of where we can come in and really curate the line as far as look, color, size, framing, all of those types of things. So at Z Gallerie, same thing. It was very finite. You know, you couldn't order it in a different size. The business and the industry, as far as publishing go, it's changed so much in the customization that's available. So because we have the offices up in Seattle, so we manufacture everything out of Seattle. It allows us that flexibility that we're able to do all of that. So where Z Gallerie, I can't speak to their buying methods now. Everything has changed obviously so much since I've left. So I don't really know what their model is. But when I was there, it was, we purchased the posters, we were involved with the framing, and then it was being shipped out to the stores.
Because Z, just so it gives everyone a little bit of perspective, Z, when the merchandising happened, we did very much like curated section, like vignettes that had curated products that, and it went from everything from the sofa to the coffee table to the vases to, and I know everyone, when I say this, I know everyone's going to recognize this. When you go into a Z Gallerie store, like back in the day, some of them now, but where you'd walk in, it'd be a wall of like a run of these rhinestone vases, and then a run of pillows that go back to it, and then a run of frames, and then within that would be the art that was created for that vignette. So when, because I wanted to make sure people, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, but we're not framers. You guys,
we take care of that.
The beauty of this program, and the reason why I'm like, we have to have you on, is me as a merchandiser, the idea of saying, you know, if I'm doing a rollout in someone's store, say the store in San Ynez that and we did a mercantile for her. And if I came to you and said, okay, I am doing a cowboy theme, like very Yellowstone. The woods are going to be in there. There's leather sofas. We're doing a bar thing. I could take that to you, and then you tell everyone what the process is, because I think it's freaking brilliant. And I think every single retailer, this opens up the doors so much to what we've never been able to have before.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to come with a situation like that, it's very similar to how we work with the design market. So designers will come to us with their storyboards, and which is kind of what you're describing. So they'll show on their storyboard the sofa, the wall covering that's going to be on it, the rug, the countertop, etc., and maybe one or two like ideas of what they're thinking. So then we go in and we pull from our line, we curate it, and then we present them. These are options, right, from there. And then from that, we will color alter to fit the scope of the project. So a client may love an image, but the blue's not quite right, or the green's not quite right, or, you know, whatever other colors that you're maybe focusing that vignette are, but you love the image. So we'll go in and we will custom color it, print it in whatever size, frame it up however you want it. So
that's
if
amazing.
in that story, so it'd be obviously be more wood based, but if it's something that you're working with that has more, you know, of the metallics and that type of thing, then maybe we would change it. Or if we need to go a little, depending on the store as well. So if it needs to be a little bit more traditional, like sort of framing, then that would be, you know, maybe a thicker, a thicker wood or with matting, that type of thing. But if it's more contemporary, then maybe it's just in a, you know, a canvas and a floater frame. So the options are huge based on the style of the store, and then also too, like really what their clientele is, you know, so they know their markets better than anybody. So they'll know like really kind of what their turn is based on these other products that they have in the store. So art just kind of comes in and fills the gap.
I love that.
Much. Yeah.
And so now for the retailers that are listening, you know, you would be said interior designer, you would come in them. And like, even like for, you know, for interior designers that are listening, like the program has been running for interior designers for a while, but for a retailer to go in and it's like, it doesn't have to be geared to your vignette. So don't think like that. But if it's geared to just, you have a children's store. Like, think of all the images that you could do if you have,
Yep.
a bar, or, like, the possibilities of what you are now able to curate. And you don't need to know the terminology of matte and this and that. You are very,
No.
like, just for context, so everyone
Yeah.
knows, when I was at Z, if you haven't listened to the episode where it's Fabian and Melissa and I all talking about our time at Z Gallery, you know this already. If you don't, we all know my tech knowledge. Well, it was just as bad, if not worse, then. But framing is very mathematical. And
Mhm.
when I came into Z Gallery, I had fashion as my background. I was post Fred Siegel, and to go
Yep.
in and try and learn a computer, because we didn't have computers at Z Gallery. We had
Yeah.
registers that we Z'd out every night, which that alone is mind blowing to me. But then, to learn this whole other language of framing and the
Yeah.
measuring, and then it's all one big fucking math problem. It's like, I did not fare well. Poor Melissa, thank God. But because you are so patient, and because you really talk things through, that a retailer doesn't need to know the terminology. You can go through and
No.
explain what matting is and what, and because you just really, as a retailer, you just really need to come with your creative idea. And
Yeah.
Melissa, being in the industry, Melissa takes it from there.
100%. Yeah, we often say, like, we really try collectively as Third and Wall, as our small group that we are, we try and make things as easy as possible for our clients. So whether that's a retail client, design client, it doesn't matter. Like, we really try and make it as simple as possible. And like, to your point, you don't need to know all the terminology. You just have to say, Melissa, I love this piece, and the biggest I can have it is this size. And then we will give you options. You'll, at no point will you need to know how big the mat's going to be. I mean, you can for sure, but it's not something that um, has to be present. Like, we can just do it and then present it. We'll just, like, then put together like a PDF or a JPEGs for you just to approve the image. But yeah, the terminology is a whole nother side of it. And there's a lot, even still, like for me, like on the production end, that I don't know a lot of the terms, but I'll find out. But again, when it translates to retail, that's not really necessary. Sometimes for designers, if they're working on, a hospital, let's say, and they're working with the wall covering, which I want to talk about as well. It has to be a specific type of wall covering, just because it's in a public space type of thing. But, again, a lot of the terminology and the specifics behind it isn't necessarily necessary. Yeah.
So the other reason why I love this so much is that you don't have to, because I'm sure every retailer is like, sure, how many do we have to order? You can only order just one, you said. And
One.
it's like
Yeah, absolutely.
that
Yeah. So
alone
there is
is,
zero MOQ. Everything is customized. So it is produced for the client. So if they want to try 5 different pieces, and I'm not talking not 5 deep, just 5 individual images, we can absolutely do that. If they want to try with one, we can do that. So yeah, because we print everything and we frame everything to spec, there are no MOQs involved. Like I said, everything is done up in Seattle. So it makes it takes out that pressure. And
yeah.
then I don't know, one other thing I wanted to say too, like, I don't know how many of the people that you work with have like a website. So they could even do like a drop ship program, like from on the website.
Oh my God, that just opened.
Where, because you have like these retailers that have like a smaller curated line,
Yeah.
and you don't have to have an MOQ. Where we're set up to be able to drop ship. We would just need to know the information. It wouldn't even come from Third and Wall. It would
That's
come from said location,
incredible.
and it opens it up even more, because knowing how important open to buy dollars are, right? Like, we know that. We
Yeah.
know how challenging it is. And depending on how your month is before, that's going to dictate maybe what your open to buy looks like, or you have your open to buy for the season, however you're set up. We know those dollars are really valuable. But in turn, we also know how important it is to have fresh merchandise, right?
Yes.
So that's really key. So if you have a website that you're able to just put more inventory up without having to commit to the inventory, it just kind of increases your chances of having more viewage, and then just having more things placed. So that's something else. So to touch on, yeah. So
Oh my
back to
God,
like
the
NOMO.
idea, the idea of having a retail store and having a whole page of art that you've curated for your store and your customers, and that
Yeah.
they don't have to outright purchase and to drop ship it is, I had no idea, but that's amazing.
Yeah, and to be able to do it in custom sizes as well. So if you have clients that are on your website and they love the image, I mean, they can pick whatever size. I would work with the retailer and say like, okay, so let's maybe pick 4 sizes, like what you think would work. And then they can all, put a little disclaimer like custom sizing available. And then that would just have to be like priced out based on
Yeah,
the size or
that's,
whatever. But I
seems
mean,
like
there's
that would be a little
options.
tricky, but that for sure, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do want to say for everyone listening is all of us are buying from, we're all pulling from the same gene pool. We all know
Yeah.
this. We all run into the situation of the neighbor has this line and you want this. The beautiful part about this is you're basically creating something that's only going to be available in your store. And I think that is,
100%.
as a retailer,
Yeah.
huge. Like any customization program, like, but the idea that this is only available in your store really kind of like helps you visibly and being able to stand out away from some of the other retailers. Because we all,
Yeah.
like, you go in store, oh, that store had this, like we all see a lot of repeats, and it's
Right.
the idea of that is amazing. What is turnaround time, say, if somebody orders from you, like singles or bigger orders?
3 to 4 weeks to
Wow, that's
ship.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. So not bad. Yeah. 3 to 4 weeks. Again, no MOQ. But back to, gosh, you just said something that like sparked something. No, I lost it.
What
It'll come.
happens with the dropship program? Like, say
Hmm.
whoever's customer ordered it, they want it, you ship it out, drop ship it, and the customer gets it and they don't want it. How is it for you guys on your end? Is it the stores, because they didn't quote buy it? So what happens to that inventory?
Yeah. So that would be something that we would have to discuss. It would have to go back to the store. We haven't done that we've done it with bigger customers where we would then take the inventory and then we would, send it out again on another thing. So that's something that would have to be discussed. I'm not 100% sure on that. That's a
So
really good question.
that would be like one of those things where
Yeah, that's true.
for customers, you'd have to really
Mm-hmm.
explain. Because I know that, anytime we did custom sofas at Z Gallery, anything
Yeah.
custom, it was like, this is your sofa. This is
Yeah, it's
being
final
made
stuff.
for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably how.
Yeah, it would just have to be articulated. Yeah. But I remember what I was going to say. So back to your point about like, your neighbors and everyone having the same piece. So internally, we keep track of what's being put out into the big box. So we know what's going to be placed in Hobby Lobby, or we know what's going to be placed in Home Goods. So we could definitely just articulate like, hey, just a heads up, this piece is there, but it's in this size. If you wanted a different size, maybe not in this colorway type of a thing. And then two, like these people, they see a fraction of what we have to offer as far as imagery goes, because they only have like X amount of like real estate on their floors, that type of thing. So when you look at the line, our line, it's really extensive. Like it's thousands of images that have been put together. So it really kind of opens up to give you the ability to set yourself aside from your neighbor.
I
Yeah.
think that's so important, because that's really a challenge, I think, for a lot of retailers right now, is
Mm-hmm.
that, you really want certain lines and you can't get it because,
Yeah.
like we all love Creative Co-op's wall decor. Like we all love it. And it's like, but Creative Co-op, I believe they have zip code protection still, where like, but something like this, like, can somebody say, these are the images that I love that I've seen out there, say Creative Co-op, do you have anything like this? And then
Absolutely.
so that's, would they
Mm-hmm.
be working with you?
They could be. Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Most likely. Yeah. I mean, if you have people that are like Central California and down, then absolutely I can go into the stores. I mean, if not, we could do Zoom calls for sure. So, I mean, we're a small company and there's only 4 of us on the sales team. So yeah,
So
but
they would get you, and that's
they
what
could
I love,
get me.
because you are like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, I've always said this, but you are like one of the most patient people. You also, and we touched on this in the interview before, your customer service is so incredible. Like
Thank you.
honestly, like you said in the interviews, like you really, people are, they're your friends. You are really cultivating a friendship and
Yeah,
business partnership with your
100%.
retailers. And it's like, you don't, you don't get a lot of that. And
Mm,
that's what I really have always respected about you, and that I love about you. And knowing,
thank you.
as we're talking to all these retailers, when people start reaching out to you, I love it, because they're going to get you. And
Yeah.
that is to me like so priceless.
We all have that same mentality, I think, those of us that are here at Third and Wall. Like, customer service is number one. It has been from the beginning. Like, that's just kind of, I always, when clients will send, oh my gosh, thank you, or oh my gosh, you got me that quote so quickly. To me, I hate knowing that someone's waiting on me for something,
Yeah.
So whether, or I just will communicate, hey, Linda, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get back to you today. I didn't get the quote back. I'll have it for you tomorrow. Just communication. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that is so
Oh,
key, because when I'm waiting on someone else, oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. Just tell me, at least acknowledge that you got it, right? Like, it's simple little things, but we all kind of have that same mindset. And I think that I think that's one thing that does kind of set us aside from others, because we value the relationships that we have with our clients. Like you said, we do foster quite a few like friendships outside of just the business relationship. And I have a design client, and she says, I love that you always don't just say thank you when you get the order. Like, you ask how my day is, or about my weather, or about, or we become Instagram friends. And so I know she had, a cheerleading tournament this weekend or something, or I know her child just went to school, or all these little things. But it does make a difference. And I think
God, yes.
as we're becoming so like hidden behind like the email and the tech and the this and the that, like having that personal connection, I think it goes so far, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
I mean, everyone's heard me get on my soapbox about customer service, and when everyone
Yeah,
starts to go down the rabbit hole. But Amazon, it's like, no,
yeah,
Amazon is never going to give you this kind of customer service, or your store.
no,
That is always my answer, is that it's like, customer service at the end of the day, your store could look like shit, like, honestly, but if your customer service is on point, like, they
yeah,
will still come back to you. Like, that is just, people are very loyal like that. And I think that is one of the qualities that, when I look at companies, and I look at how
mhm,
they treat me as a buyer, or my
yeah.
stores, that could, you're like I said, your customer service has always stood out, and it's like,
Thank you.
is commendable. Like, I love
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
What is a range of wholesale pricing, so people can kind of have an idea of, about where, like, a low and a high, or a medium?
It really just depends on the size. I had a feeling you were going to ask me that question, and
Ah, well, but
well, I mean,
okay, so the picture behind you.
what are you seeing? Oh, well, that's not okay. Yeah,
Well,
that's
size
yeah,
wise.
yeah. Size wise, probably like $75. Size
Okay.
wise, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I feel like we'd be in line with where. Yeah, I would say that we're in line probably with like where the bigger markets are, like pricing wise, as far as um the Dallas market and all those types of markets, for sure. And again, though, I know a lot of those do have the MOQs where we don't, so that kind of like makes up for it a little bit. But yeah, I would say probably like 75 up to 300 ish, depending on the
That's
size. I mean, and we
that's
go really
great.
large too.
That's great, because again, like, for all of it, everyone who's bought Sugar Boo, who's bought Creative Co-op art, or who's bought, but you start looking at framing and glass and shipping, and, like, there
Yeah.
is not an inexpensive purchase, but it's not on the retail, on the consumer side either. I mean, it's art.
Yeah.
The fact that you can customize it and all that is like, those are the
Yeah.
huge bonus
And
points.
the quality is there as well. I will say that. Like, I feel like our quality, not to discount what some other people do, because everyone has a niche to fill, right? But I feel like our quality is definitely really up there, and we've never had someone complain about a sagging canvas or paper that's wavy or anything like that. Like the quality is definitely like on the higher end for sure. So that's something to think about too when it comes to the pricing. But again, if it's a price sensitive project that they're doing, I mean, it's really just a matter, like we had talked about, just having the communication and having the conversation. Melissa, that price point's too high. What can we do to bring that down? Okay, let's figure that out. And that's all it is. It's a simple conversation about that. Your client, you know, your customer can hang up the phone, and that's my job to figure it out. It's not their job to figure it out. It's my job to figure out how we can make this work for this program. And that's what we do our best to do.
I had asked if you were doing the gift shows, and you don't do the gift shows.
No.
You do one show. Which is it?
Yeah, so there is a show that happens in Vegas. It's coming back. It had stopped. It was the West Coast Art and Frame Show, and it's primarily for the publishers and then for framers. So all the different framers will show their different equipment that they have, the mats, the frames, the different frame samples. So we would show at that to see our clients, but we don't do any of the gift shows at all because we don't have an established curated line.
Yeah,
we curate based on the client.
You're curating somebody else's line, basically. You're like the behind the scenes people.
100%.
Tell me a little bit about, because we touched on it, and it's fascinating to me, is the Hobby Lobby, the Big Lots, because I know, but Big Lots is, I love that place. I mostly because how far it's come from when it was, what was it before Big Lots? It was Big Pick and Save. No,
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
But their Christmas straight up is such an incredibly curated. I mean, they have like 4 different concepts. Like, and it is.
Let me tell you this: when you see, so we don't do a ton with Big Lots only because their price points are really low, right? So when our artists will get a royalty report and their pricing's really low, it's become a thing. So we don't do a ton with Big Lots, especially with newer imagery. I just wanted to put that out there. In turn, though, when you see their storyboards, when they come out with them on what their inspiration is, and they work really far out. I was very surprised. They're like they're into like 2024 already. So when you see their storyboards, you were like, who is this for? Is this for like Neiman Marcus? And they're like, no, it's for, And I'm just like, I mean, they put so much thought into these packages. Like, it's very impressive. Very, very impressive.
It's crazy because the merchandising obviously is not, but when you look at the product, I mean, I've always said this, like, this is why I love, I mean, even Hobby Lobby, God love them. I mean, but you know, it's all on gondolas. Very inexpensive, but the products are spot on. And honestly, like you could take something like that and put it next to very high-end stuff, and you would never know that. I think that's the reason, I hate to say this, but I think that's the reason why there are a few retailers that I have known, which I'm not gonna, no one I work with now has gone into Hobby Lobby and Big Lots and bought inventory because they didn't get shipped during the pandemic, went in and bought inventory, took all the tags off and re-tagged it and sold it as their own.
Holy cow.
I think a lot of people do that also, especially with home goods. Like, I mean, I will admit, I did that with Burt's Pharmacy for Halloween one year. We didn't have any Halloween and people were complaining. It was like, all right, so we're going
to find it. We'll find it for you.
Kill for saying that, but
it's my job to do that for you.
We all know everyone does it, so stop coming at me because I know someone's going to. But I mean, I think it's fast because you guys do a lot with Hobby Lobby.
We do some with Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby's really changed their so we don't do anything direct with Hobby Lobby at all.
Okay.
We work through, so we'll work with wholesale framers that then sell into Hobby Lobby. You know, but they are really changing their they're changing their whole floor plan, their schematic, because they're really, as things are happening with Bed Bath & Beyond, they are going to be going after that business. So Hobby Lobby is really altering some things that they're doing in their stores that has started to happen. I don't know when the last time you were in there, but it's starting to happen.
Like bedding and like home, like, ooh, that's, I can't even believe I'm saying this. I have a love-hate with them. I have use them because of
Yeah.
work, but you
Yeah.
know, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
but so the framers are the ones bringing you these vision boards or
Yes.
design boards.
Hmm.
That's why you don't know who they are. Now I get it. Okay, so I wondered, but that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that I love hearing the behind the scenes stuff of
Oh
like
yeah.
people from Target on here and like kind of peeling back some of the sheets on what's going behind the scenes because
Yeah.
they're all love it or hate it, they're really good retailers, and it's
They're
like
really good at what they do, and they have really strong buyers that tend to switch around. They tend to move around a lot, the buyers, which is a little, it's frustrating and it's not, because whenever you get a fresh set of eyes on something, you can present things that maybe not be the newest things,
yeah,
but it's new to them. And again, it's just our way of trying to promote our artists as much as possible. So we will pull stuff out if it fits the story with some color changes that might not be this year, maybe it's last year or the year before, but it still will fit because it's still relevant.
yeah.
And with a color tweak here or there, maybe a crop to make it give it a different perspective type of thing. So, but they've got it dialed in. I will say that for sure. Yeah.
Do the artists ever get kind of like, because like any of us who are creative, it is an extension of yourself. And
Yes.
do artists ever get kind of, I don't know, touchy about, this is how I made this and now you're putting turquoise and pink in it? Like, do they
So
ever get,
no, so so I'm the one I start the conversations with any new artist. Like I will answer I give them everything about Third and Wall, what we do, answer all their questions, that type of thing. And one of the biggest things is, in order to be an artist that we can work with, they have to not hold on tight to their baby. Like it's in their contract that we have the ability to tweak it. And and I tell people, I'm like, and I completely 1000% respect if you don't want us tweaking your art. It doesn't fit for our market, right? Because our market is to be as customizable as possible. And but then in turn, when they understand that you're taking one image and you can maybe sell it 15 times because you've changed the color, you've changed the
oh,
size, or you've changed the orientation, or you've created a mate to go with it, or and they will get royalty on every single piece that we sell of their piece, whether it's in the pink version or the purple version or the green version. Like they still get it because it's theirs. So when we work with artists, it's in their contract, and that's something that they are all 100% on board on. But I've had conversations that are like, I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm like, I totally understand.
yeah,
It's not going to be a fit for us
yeah.
because it is their babies, and I get it. Like I can't paint to save my life, but I understand the business side of it as well,
I get annoyed when people change my displays. So imagine that's something permanent. How do you guys find artists? And if, or, because we have a lot of people that are artists that
Yeah.
how does that work and how do they get to you? And
So they can get to me by, if on the website, there's on our website, thirdandwall.com, there's at the very bottom, it says call for artists, and they would just click on that. And there's a website, an email address to submit. And then they can either do a link to their website if they have one, or a link to their Instagram page, or they pull together a PDF. So that's a way of submitting if they want to submit into us. And then I'm on Instagram a lot, like looking for new artists, and I'll reach out to them and see like where they are and what they're doing and how they're doing it, if they're open for a conversation. And a lot of times, like we find them from like walking the art fairs. So just,
love that.
like Seattle Art Walk. We signed someone just this last week that we found at the Seattle Art Walk. I mean, not Seattle, I'm sorry, San Diego. And I went down and I met with her there was an art walk at Liberty Station a few weeks ago, and I went and met in person, and it was great. So, there's different ways to do it, but for us, like too, like we have a very contemporary line, I would say. Like we don't have a lot of traditional, like your traditional, like plein air kind of traditional. We have a little bit, but not too much. So too, like we'll get submissions a lot, and I'll joke sometimes. I'm like, did you look at our website? Did you look at like,
Yeah.
But it may just not be a fit for us. It doesn't mean that they're not creative and talented. And I really try, because I know, you know, like you said, these are their babies, right? And I know how hard it is just to take that step,
Yeah.
like to submit something. So I will often try and like gear them in a different direction. So if it's something that I think would be really great on plates or on napkins or whatever, you know, I'll direct them to Surtec, or I'll direct them to the Las Vegas licensing show, just to kind of, so that they could go through and see who their vendors are and see who might be a better fit to target. Because a lot of times the work is great, it's just not for us, you know, and
And
that's what I tell them. Yeah.
there's one artist who I love. I'm gonna pull so you can see it. Her name's Misha. She's with she does plating and stuff for
Hmm.
180 degrees, but she does some of the most amazing prints. She's very kind of contemporary. That's
Oh
for
yeah. Uh-huh.
those who are listening, but she does, you know, she's licensed through 180 for her
Okay.
designs for tabletop and
Yeah.
such great like that's the one person I could think of that would be amazing. Not knowing if you're looking for just
Yeah.
throwing
And then
it
the
out
other
there.
thing, like for us with artists, they have to be exclusive to us for publication. So
Ah,
anything paper wise or for framing wise, nothing for like alternative substrates, which is what we consider like the plates and the,
so
you
if they have
know,
a card line, they wouldn't be able to do it.
cards would be fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cards would be fine.
We have a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
artists that do cards.
Yeah, absolutely. You could turn them over to us. And then another thing too, like you had talked about, I don't know how many, like on one of your Instagram things about like uppers, right? Like uppers being super important. And you had said like statement art, like there. So, you know, another thing for the retailers to think about is maybe they don't want to bring like art in to sell, but they want a really great statement piece for up there.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that we can work on too. Like it doesn't have to be in order for it to turn for retail. It can just be, you know, oh, I really love this piece, but either it's not in the right size or what have you. And Melissa, I need a piece for here. What do you think? Kind of a thing. So that's something else. And then another thing is wall covering. So we do wall covering, custom wall covering.
I
So
that is we didn't
which,
talk
you know,
about
you could
this.
do from like your install, right? And then that could be like a whole season long. We do either like a peel and stick, or, and again, printed everything in Seattle, print like a peel and stick, which is super easy to install. I say that very loosely because I had some really challenges
No,
in
no,
Vegas once.
it's
Oh my gosh, trying to do it in Vegas on those foam walls that they have in the booths. I swear,
oh
I think
my God. I've tried doing peel and stick and
it's not as
I
easy as people make it look. I will say that.
no, and not to mention the if there's a fucking pattern matching that up.
If there's a pattern or
Oh
if
my
there's a
God.
slight, like, you know, like slant in the wall, like any of that makes it very, very challenging. But, you know, or we do like the normal wall covering where they have a professional installer come in and do it. So that's another option
Oh,
too.
so if it's when you say customized, like what do
Mhm.
you mean? Like, is it someone bringing you something, or is it taking a piece of art and turning it into what?
Taking a
Like,
piece of art and turning it into, yeah. So we will take like if they have like their AutoCAD drawings or whatever, and they're working on a wall that, let's say, has a cutout of a window and has a cutout of a door, and then we will print specifically for the size of that wall. So and then like so we'll print like the small area above the door. Well, if there's like, I'm looking at my wall and there's like maybe an 8-inch thing on the side, so we'll print just the 8-inch, so there's not a lot of waste. But we would customize, so we print like in 48-inch panels, so super easy to like manage. And yeah, so it's all based on the customization of the size, the height of the wall, length. There's no because the roll size is really long, so there's really no limitations when it comes to the height of the wall. Because I
so,
know a lot of retailers have like taller walls. So
if like, do they do photograph art? Is there photos on the wall?
yeah,
Okay,
yep.
so, and
We have
this
photography.
just so everyone can get kind of an idea of how to utilize this is that Serendipity, one of my stores, opened a store down the street called Muse House, and it's a very Joshua Tree vibe. Like she really wanted this very organic feel. So her whole back wall, she found an image of Joshua Tree, like
Mhm.
cactuses, landscape, and they did it as wallpaper. Hers was proper wallpaper, but the idea of being able to take one of your images, art, one of the images, and do that as peel and stick wallpaper on a wall is
Yeah.
so like that opens so many doors for your store of like
Yeah.
just being able to take, and it's peel and stick, and it's
Yeah, you could do peel and stick. I mean, we do peel and stick and we do proper. We do both. So we
that
have
is
both as options, just kind of
amazing.
depending on it. But yeah, so
Okay,
we
I'm
could just take,
definitely going to be calling you for jobs for me because
yeah.
I was doing peel and stick and trying to find patterns that would go with some of the vendors' displays that we're doing. And it was like,
Hmm.
there's some good stuff out there, but the idea of being
Yeah.
like,
To customize it, I
yes,
think is the biggest thing, especially like with color, because color is key. If you have, and so we'll work with Pantone colors or Sherwin-Williams like paint colors or anything like that. And we've got people who will send in actual swatches of things that we match to. Color
wow,
is really important to us as a company. So, yeah. So, I mean, because all it takes is having one thing kind of thrown off and you're like, it's not perfect.
yeah.
And, but we can make it as close to perfect as possible for sure. But yeah, so the wall covering's another option for the stores if they don't have a need for like to sell like framed art or anything like that. And then another thing that we do offer is like if you had a file that you wanted us to print, then we could definitely do, obviously we want to promote our artists first, but that
Yeah.
is another option that we have.
Wow.
Or sourcing imagery. So like to your point that you were talking about, like that Joshua tree, if we didn't have something that would fit, we source imagery. If it's not within our image bank that we're able to pull from, obviously we go from that first. But if not, then we would source imagery for you and present it that way and kind of go from there.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's amazing. Like now my head is like spinning because obviously I'm
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm so thankful that you took the time to do this because I mean, after our lunch, like there's so much information about the company that we just need to get out there. Like we just need people to know and see
yeah,
how they can like utilize this a little
because you're
bit more.
not, I mean, unfortunately, you're not where retailers are going to see
Exactly.
you. So
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it's like that's why I was like, okay, we have to have you on because like
Yeah.
the amount of people that listen to this now that are doing displays that are, wanting to find things that are outside the box that are, and to
Right.
find something also that no one, I doubt any of everybody that's listening, I doubt any of you have dealt with like, I mean, maybe custom framing and all that, but this is
Yeah.
like, this opens the door to so many cool things you can do. You touched on the uppers. For those of you who don't follow me, we uppers for Anthropologie. When you go into Anthropologie, you they're merchandised by vignette, but when you look at the apparel's on these big wall units, and
Yeah.
always at the very top is what we call the upper, and that sets the tone for what is you're selling down below. Ralph Lauren is a perfect example. I
Mhm.
posted a picture of one of his uppers because he will do the whole story, like the vintage pieces, the mannequins up there, the art, like like plants, you name it, but that is your storytelling, and then
Yeah.
everything down below goes back to what's going on
Yeah.
at
It
top.
all ties in. Yeah.
If you want to do uppers that are just stored uppers that they don't change at all, they have nothing to do with down below, just so it looks finished, that is like, but you will definitely, if you put it up there, it's going to sell because I do uppers with I think it's Creative Co-op's art or Raz, their prints. I do them at Masana A, and she sells a ton, and it's because we don't really have any wall space. So I'll
Yeah.
do that, and that's another reason why I think something like this is great, like how you brought it up with
Yeah.
you don't have wall space, but everyone's got a top of a cabinet, and
Hmm.
we all know, you look at it and it's like this big open empty space above it, and
Yeah.
it's like it's still real estate, and if you can eke out
Still real estate. Yeah. Absolutely.
story and have a finished look on the top of these shelves or bookcases or whatever, this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Hmm.
Melissa, I love you so much. Thank you
I
so
love you so
much for
much
doing
too.
this. Like
Thank
I'm
you. I
so
appreciate it so
grateful.
much.
Oh,
Yeah, I told the team I was going to do this and they got so excited because yeah, we just want to, you know, promote the artists as much as we can, continue to build Third and Wall, and I think we have a lot to offer. I really do. Yeah.
oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I already know people who are going to call, but it's like, I love the idea of if they call and ask for you, that they will get you who they've
Yeah.
listened to the podcast. And I can tell you, just like I said, from my own experience, you are so incredible with customer service, and you are just a kind person. I mean, you are just
Thank
like
you.
that. I used to think, I'm like, is she really this nice? It's like I honestly used to think that. It made me
Oh, all have our moments.
bitchy part of me, but it's like, you are truly that nice, like truly that nice. And that's a lot. I mean, that's what I've always respected. I mean, that's always been the top of mind when I think of you, and how much I respect and love you is just, you are a kind human.
Thank you.
You're
I love you too.
welcome. I'm going to ask you, I asked you before, but I'm going to ask you two different questions. Stress wise, which we are stressed, how do you, how do you burn off stress? How do you relax? What does at the end of a really shitty week look like for
you? Honestly, most recently, I've gotten into breath work.
you?
Like, breath work has become my go-to for everything. I follow this, it's a podcast as well, but it's called Lindy Well. And it's an online Pilates platform. I'm plugging them without meaning to, but they've implemented a breathwork specialist that comes in, and she's amazing. And it's breathwork from, if you're stressed, if you have insomnia, if you need energy, like all these different things. And I'm not kidding. At the end of every day, I've been doing that, and that takes away the stress. And cold showers. I know that sounds really silly, but it's true. I've implemented cold showers. I'm sleeping like a log. So between cold showers and breath work and reading before I go to bed and not being on my phone.
Yeah, but not being on the phone, really trying to do that. And the reading too. What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading Daisy Jones and the Six. Although I did see the show, I'm reading the book. I always do that. I watch the movie or the show, and then I go back and read the book. I don't know.
I did the same thing. I watched it and bought the book. I haven't, because I have a horrible habit of buying. I have this thing with books. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I just love the touch and feel of books. So I have way too many books, but it's sitting on my bedside waiting to be read after I finish.
It's just as good. It's just as good as a show. It's really fun.
Did you read her other book, the seven
husbands? Yes, I just finished that. And honestly, when I bought them, I didn't know that it was the same author. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's why I was like, okay, I want to read the book, because that book was so good. The Covenant of Water, you need to read. It's like 4 inches thick. It's so good though. It's so beautifully written. It's so good.
Okay.
And then my last question is, what is the biggest lesson what is the biggest piece of advice you can give to our retailers as a past buyer and retailer? And everyone knows, just so everyone knows, I never tell anybody the questions. I know.
I really don't even get questions. Been able to prepare myself for that. So from a buying perspective,
buying, retailer, whatever. I mean, like, because you've been in the industry for so long, and you've done, much like myself. That's why it's called the Retail Horse, because I've done just about every job in the industry. So
100%.
You were talking to retailers and buyers. So what you've done it. What is some of your advice?
I would definitely say communication. Being on this end of it, I would say, as a buyer, if you would, I don't want to make this sound bad, but respect the partnerships that you have with your suppliers. I think that's very, very, very important. I remember, I will say this, and I'm not going to name the name, when I was at Z Gallerie and we were the buyers, we had a wholesale framer that treated us like queens, right? Queens. When I flipped to this position and we were then providing imagery to said wholesaler, oh my goodness, it was complete shift night and day. I didn't recognize that person. It was just the way they treated us was so different. So I would say if they could just value those partnerships, because I believe that when that relationship is strong, the person that you're buying from will go above and beyond for you. Like, they really will. And, I mean, in our case, like, we will do that. Like, we will be your partner. We won't just be your supplier. And I think that's really important, just to value those relationships and not just take them for granted, for sure.
I love that.
That's my piece of advice.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
So we're at www.thirdandwall.com. you're gonna have a little plug, right? And then with, or like
Well,
little information.
you will have all the links in the show notes, but just some people are listening, and some people literally do not look at the show notes and they'll listen to.
Yeah, so thirdandwall.com, or you can reach me directly at melissah@thirdandwall.com is my direct email. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, my friend. I love
Thank
you,
you,
and
my
I can't
friend.
wait for everyone to hear this episode. And I also cannot wait to think about wallpaper for my upcoming show schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love that.
thank you.
Thank you.